Hi, class. I was told by both classes that there was an issue with recordings for chapter 2 and 3. So I'm going to go back to WebEx and try to re-record both of those lectures so that you can hear me consistently. So let's get started with our slides for chapter 2. I'm not going to repeat chapter 2's embedded question because you all have already answered it. So we're not going to use Panopto anymore. We're just going to use WebEx going forward. And here we go. So chapter 2 dealt with global e-business collaboration, and we introduced the hierarchy of the IT department. We looked at what business processes are and how they're related to an information system. We look at how systems serve different parts of our organization. We looked at collaboration tools and the role of the IS/IT department within the business. Our homework was the CMEX case, and our forum was the Walmart case. You all did very well. Speaking of forums, you don't have to always create a new response. You can reply to someone else. You can build on someone else's answer. You can collaborate the answer, or you can give an opposing viewpoint to their answer. You'll still get credit for participating in that particular forum. So let's get started with business processes. So let's start at routines. Routines are something we do all the time. I gave an example yesterday in class of waking up in the morning. Normally you'll wake up, maybe have a cup of coffee, breakfast, shower, dress, and leave. Something you do every day. Well, routine in the workplace is similar. It's something we do every day. And business processes are simply a collection of routines. In a nutshell, they're how we do our job. The slides point out flow of material, information, knowledge, set of activities. Oftentimes they're tied to what department we work in. So we know the organization is broken up into different functional areas. We have HR, IT, finance and accounting, sales, marketing, manufacturing, distribution, facilities, you name it, we could have a department for it. Each has their own clear-cut agendas, culture, politics, and different ways they do their jobs. So the processes for each area will be different, and a business analyst who we're going to introduce towards the end of this chapter will have to know those processes to a key. An organization or a business is a collection of business processes because an organization is simply made up of its people and its data and how it interacts with its environment to take inputs, process, and produce outputs. A business process can be an asset if we're being operationally efficient, we're doing so well we can go into other business lines, we're surviving, or a liability if it's taking too long for us to do our job, we're not performing very well, we're getting behind our competition. This slide is just simply some steps that are business processes, identifying customers, hiring employees, etc. This flowchart, is the order fulfillment system of a generic business. We have 3 organizational units: sales, accounting, manufacturing. In the sales department, we generate an order. Maybe it's come from marketing through cold calling or something like that. We get the order, we submit the order. Our accounting and finance team will check credit, approve credit, generate an invoice. In manufacturing and production, we're going to assemble the product, we're going to ship the product. This is a very mundane process. We can look to automate or have machines do particular steps along this flow for us, like checking and approving credit. We can even have machines assemble product. How can IT improve business processes? We already talked about automation. We can enable new processes. We can change the flow of information. We can replace steps with parallel steps. We can eliminate delays. We can shrink a flow by eliminating duplicated steps. We can even support new business models. So systems are at the different levels of our organization. Remember, our organization is a pyramid with the C-suite or top level management. We have middle management. You have operational management. Well, TPS or transaction processing systems, they serve operational managers and their staff. It's really our day-to-day. They perform and record the transactions needed during a day: order entry, payroll, shipping, accounts payable and receivable. Managers can monitor this status by reports from a TPS. No analytical processing within a TPS because it's really current data. It's actual data. We typically do analytics on historical data. And the goal of our TPS ultimately is to enable our operational staff to take good data, make good decisions, and maybe we can shrink the organization like we've seen in Chapter 3. This slide is simply a view of a payroll transaction processing system. The rectangles for our class will represent systems. The cylinders will represent databases. The little monitor represents an output or an input. So if we look here, our employee database, that's called an entity. All these things within the big rectangle: employee number, name, address, pay rate, those are all examples of attributes. So an entity is a noun, an attribute's an adjective. And the flow of data from system to database and back, that's called a relationship, and that's a verb. So here, an employee puts in some data. Maybe they sign in and out for the week. Each data is stored in the employee database file. When it's time to cut a check, we take the hours worked, calculated by the pay rate. We get the gross pay. We take out taxes, FICA, Social Security. We get a net pay. From that, we pay our employee. We send tax information to our IRS, etc. And then general ledger, we take out the monies we actually paid to the employee. Business intelligence, really starting to look at data and software tools for analyzing data to perform analytics, is really done at the middle layer of our organization, and systems we look at through chapters 9 through 12. Management information systems, decision support, and executive support are among the types of systems we're going to look at. Excuse me. Of the three systems we just talked about, and MIS has the littlest amount of analytical capability because we're really getting information from our transaction processing system, but it can help serve our middle managers to make better, faster decisions. This slide simply shows how an MIS gets its data. So we have three, and here in this case we have three different databases in our TPS connected to three different systems. From there we feed our MIS databases and we get our reports back to our managers. This is simply what an MIS report may look like. Here we can, just looking at the sheet here, carpet cleaners selling, worse than expected in the Northeast, a little better in the South, much better in the Midwest, and well under budget in the West. So maybe we move product from the West and Northeast to the South and Midwest to accommodate their increased sales while having just enough inventory for sales in the areas we just moved product from. Decision support systems are model driven. They're using what we call a data warehouse, which is simply historical data that we store from transaction processing systems to help us make decisions. Executive support systems are a particular type of decision support systems in that it supports senior management by providing them a view or a snapshot of data that we may have seen in a decision support system. Senior managers need information at their fingertips, easy to use, easy to decipher, so they can make decisions very quickly. And finally, enterprise applications. These are applications that spawn every organizational unit in our organization. At the center is a central database where organizational units store all of their data. Specific types of enterprise applications include supply chain management, that's moving raw materials through production to a customer. Customer relationship management is how we have an intimate relationship with our customers. Knowledge management system is how we manage knowledge in our organization, whether it's implicit or tacit, and explicit, I'm sorry. Here you can see in the triangle, we have different organizational units of our organization. The two intersecting ovals are really our supply chain management system, our knowledge management system, and our CRM system, all spanning the entire breadth of our organization. So an enterprise system should cure problems with data because there's one source of data, and we hope that's the case. It should make for more efficient response to customers, to internal customers, our employees. We should be able to pay bills faster, reconcile financials faster, track packages better, all the like, making us a much more operationally efficient organization. Plus, good data equals good information, better decision making. We talked about supply chain already, how we manage suppliers. We're going to talk a lot more about supply chain management in Chapter 9, along with customer relationship management. We're going to dive a little deeper into Nike's supply chain. CRM is how we manage our customers, and it also can be used internally. I'm going to turn our enterprise resource system here at Greystone into a help desk platform. We're currently rolling out a product called NetSuite for our accounting department. It has other modules, whereas I can market to my internal customers. We can move our donor function into there and really manage who helps us survive on a day-to-day and help me have a better relationship with my internal customers. Knowledge management is simply how we manage knowledge in our organization and let our experts use that knowledge. It also helps us disseminate knowledge within our organization. Looking at intra, extra, and internets. So we know internet's the world's largest wide area network, the world's largest network, meaning we connect two or more endpoints together. Well, an intranet is a private part of the internet chopped up for our own use within an organization. And you can think of my.marist.edu as an intranet. So it's a website just for Marist employees, alumni, and students. An extranet is what we've seen in the Walmart video, where we allow our part of our company website or our internal network to be accessible by our vendors. Things we're going to look at later in the semester too is e-commerce, e-business, e-government. E is just electronic, so e-business is using technology to drive business. We're going to look at different types of e-business, business to business, business to consumer, and consumer to consumer. We'll look at e-commerce, it's selling on the internet. We'll look at e-government, it's governing on the internet. which is particularly important for the next 2 months or so, in that we'll all be at some time filing our taxes using a means to communicate to the IRS. The IRS, sorry, that's e-government. People like me, your other professors, stress collaboration and working in our educational environment to get you learning how to work as a group. When I was an undergrad at St. John's back in the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't work in groups. We worked as individuals, very inefficient, didn't produce very quality results. It didn't really get us ready for the workforce. So we do group projects along the way. Speaking of which, in the Chapter 3 video, I had some instructions on how we're doing the group project. I haven't seen groups 1 or 2 present or send me slides, so if we can get that done by the end of the week, we can really keep up to date on our group projects. If not, we'll have to intervene and find out a different way to present them. We may have to actually meet live through WebEx to do that, but let's try to get some kind of recording done for us. Social business is using social networking to engage our employees, customers, and suppliers. A great way a company does this is FedEx and UPS. You can sign up for a FedEx account. You can link it to your phone. You can link it to social media, and you can get updates on your shipments. We'll see a video for Comcast where they integrate Twitter with their customer relationship management platform called Salesforce to be able to have a very intimate relationship with their customers. Benefits of collaboration: better work, more productivity, more innovation, can move to different business models, better customer service. We should see sales growth, better profits, sustainability, survival. To have collaboration, you really need to have a corporate culture that enables communication, maybe a decentralized structure. We need tools in place to allow us to collaborate. You know, at Marist, we're lucky to have the WebEx platform. We're lucky to have forum and chat capabilities within iLearn. When we move to Office 365, we'll have Yammer and SharePoint to help us collaborate as well. Sorry. We really talked about culture already, so let's look at tools. Email and instant messaging, wikis. Be careful of wikis because we can't guarantee the accuracy of them. In virtual meeting places, telepresence was one of the interactive topics for this chapter. Cloud collaboration services like we use for our project, the Google suite of products, SharePoint I referenced, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all ways we can collaborate. Google Hangout, Yammer, any way we can face each other, whether directly like Skype, WebEx, GoToMeeting, all tools that will help us work together. The checklist for managers evaluating collaboration tools is the same checklist that we use for evaluating any kind of information system. We need to identify our challenges. What solutions are available? Do we have to make a solution? Analyze cost and benefits. Analyze security, who will have access, who will not. We have to train our users. We have to implement the solution. We have to evaluate vendors before we buy a solution and continually update that solution. The IS department will probably see an exam question on the IS department. It's typically headed by a chief information officer and maybe some other C-suite titles like CSO, often called CISO or Chief Information Security Officer. I've never really seen the others who author list for us, CKO, CPO, and CDO, but I have seen, and it's prevalent in industry, CTO or Chief Technology Officer. Realize these folks sit at the senior level of management, but IT at times doesn't really have the same say as other C-suite employees. And we as IT professionals must do a better job of aligning ourselves with the business. System analysts really sit between the middle and operational level. They're a liaison between the business and IT. Programmers sit at the operational level of an organization. They write our code that makes applications. Our database analysts and database programmers will sit at the operational level as well. Information system managers, like help desk managers or programming managers, typically sit at the middle level of our organization. And last but certainly not least, and very most important in my mind, are our end users, because an IS department doesn't exist without its users. And when you answer the exam question as it's written, make sure you emphasize the importance of end users. IT is organized by a document called governance. This really sets the strategies and policies in our IT department. It tells us who has accountability for different functions within IT, who's responsible for maybe a bad network or a slow email system or poor help desk response, who has the ability in IT to make decisions, how we're organized. And we'll go into organization of the IS department in more detail later in the semester, but we can have a centralized or decentralized approach to IT, IS, and we'll see the differences and the benefits of each, like I said, later in the semester. And that's it for chapter 2. I'm going to stop our recording and we'll move on to the chapter 3 lecture.